Peace. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. Hey, say hi to William over there. Yes, absolutely. There are tens of thousands more of us who have. Oh, they're loud this morning. Huh? I'll turn the birds down a little. I'm leaving them up as long as I can. There are tens of thousands more of us who have the sad misfortune of believing that they are alone. How incredibly lucky we are to know that we are family. Hallelujah. Jesus. Welcome, everybody. EK and Annie and Quiet. I think I said hi to all you guys. Who did I miss? Nancy, Trisha, and Wanda. Hey, welcome. Peace. And welcome to Not Church. Mystical theology. Ever since the first day I came back from the dead, the words of Jesus sounded like those of a near-death experiencer to me. Not Church is a new understanding of the Gospels through my multiple near-death and other mystical experiences through that lens, a singular lens. Today, the Gospel of Thomas, Logia 4. Logia means saying. The fourth saying, or Logia of Jesus, is a problematic one until one grasps that the Coptic writers accidentally left out what Mark 10:31, Matthew 19:30 and 20:16, and Luke 13:30 included. We'll get to all of that and how it reflects what I saw in my near-death experiences and other mystical experiences in my talk. First becomes last, and last becomes first, and they become a single thing. If Not Church has been feeding your soul for a time, please subscribe. So let's practice our singularity. When we make our eyes single, our bodies will be filled with light, said Jesus. When you pray, go into your closet, close the door, and pray in secret, and the beloved who is in secret will hear you in secret. And thirdly, when two or more are gathered, I am there. These three things form the parameters of a centering interior practice. The Paraclete, the Holy Presence, the Holy Spirit, the Advocate, the Counselor, the artesian well of living light flowing from heaven, the divine self, the crystal river of all life, pouring into you and me and all of us together, among, between, and inside. The energy transmission between us is because it is, they are, capital T-A, they are within us. That's the message of Jesus. We chant 3 ohms, our little group here. We chant 3 ohms, vibrating our hearts, our throat chakras, and our third eye. And then we spend some moments together practicing our silent centering prayer. So please join us this morning. Thanks for being here. I'm seated well. My back is straight. I'm relaxed, hands in my lap. I inhale with my belly and my chest for the ohms and just my belly for centering prayer. Relax, center yourself, practice your breath wheel. Pick a prayer word. Breathe it in and out. The first becomes last, and the last becomes first, and they become a single one. Thomas, Logia 4, Part 1. The old man or woman, heavy with days, does not hesitate to ask the minor child of 7 days about the place of life, and they will live. A 7-day-old child has no language or words to answer, but maybe you have felt the glow of its newness, its heaven connection. Heaven's light clings to a newborn, and a light like that can be seen in their eyes. The old one facing mortality and death looks to see the light of the place of life, capital P and L. They look to see the place of light, and in looking, if they have eyes to see, find heaven in the eyes of the newborn. And so, at that moment, live in the place of life, which gives them hope, experience, and connection while facing mortality. Part 2. What the Coptic writer forgot. The Coptic version, which is what the Gospel of Thomas is, and it's right there over my shoulder, the Coptic version, well, it's not the only version of the Gospel of Thomas. It's the most complete, but there are fragments that have been dug up in Egypt in the last part of the 19th century among the Oxyrhynchus papyri. Oxyrhynchus papyri. That's a place in northern Egypt. Oxyrhynchus papyri. And there's a quote. Here's the quote describing what that is. Since 1898, academics have collected and transcribed over 5,000 documents from what were originally hundreds of boxes of papyrus fragments the size of a large cornflake. This represents only 1 to 2% of what is estimated to be at least 500,000 papyri still remaining to be conserved, transcribed, deciphered, and cataloged. At the time of this wiki writing, the last published piece, oh my, there it is. At the time of this writing, the last, this is the hazards. This is the hazards of reading a script live with, we're going to pick it up right here. This represents only 1 to 2% of what is estimated to be at least 500,000 papyri still remaining to be conserved, transpired, deciphered, and cataloged. At the same time of this writing, the same place of this, at the time of this writing that it was published, it was November 30th, 2021. Among these fragments was the fragment of Thomas. Okay, I'm blushing again. Jeepers creepers. Among these fragments was the fragment of Thomas Logia 4. Okay, so among all of these Oxyrhynchus papyri fragments, there was a fragment of Thomas Logia 4. The Coptic says, this is what it says in that one: for many that are first will be last, and they will become one. Kind of leaves you hanging. The fragment says, for many who are first will become last, and the last will be first, and they will become one and the same. Or another translation, for you will see that the many of the first will be last, and the last first, and they will be a single thing. This is the fragment. This is the missing piece from the Coptic translation. Maybe the writer forgot it. I mean, the things happen like that, okay? The crazy part about this is that this fragment makes the Thomas piece line up. Again, the Coptic piece. For many that were first will be last, and they will become one. And the fragment says, for many who are first will become last, and the last will become first, and they will become a single one. And it's similar to the versions of the sayings. They're in line with Mark, Matthew, and Luke, as found in the fragment of the Oxyrhynchus papyri. Okay. So that fragment makes that book make sense in a line with Matthew, Mark, and Luke. This has been a troubling fragment for my whole of my time that I've been reading this book. Decades ago, I got that translation. It's a 1959 English translation. It's an early translation. And it when I read it, it said the first will become last, and then it just left off, and the last first. And I thought, WTF, what is this? Makes no sense from my NDE perspective. And I couldn't figure it out until I learned about the Oxyrhynchus papyri fragment, which has not been included in this translation. You have to kind of get this one here and get this one there and kind of weave them together, because with the fragment, the logia now reflects Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And the version of the saying which has always made sense to my twice deaf mind. So those canonical gospels, those synoptic gospels, those three, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they always made sense. When Jesus was talking there, that made sense. The place it didn't make sense was in Thomas. So it left me really kind of crazy about that. The last becomes the first, and the first becomes the last, and they become a single thing. They become one. And to me, the last becomes first and the first becomes last has two meanings, at least two meanings. There are more meanings because that's the power of metaphor. The first meaning is that in heaven, the rich and the powerful, the arrogant and the selfish, they're at the back of the line. And at the front of the line stand the wounded, the poor, the powerless, the weak, the suffering, selfless, the oppressed, and the marginalized. The second meaning, okay, that's the first meaning. There are other meanings, but I like these two. The second meaning is the pericope. Okay, so I'm using the word pericope. The second meaning in this pericope is talking about two groups of people. Okay, this is the first part of this. It's talking about two groups of people: the people at the back of the line and the people at the front of the line. Okay, and then it's also talking about one person. It's talking about a single person whose firstness and lastness. So it's talking about these people, these groups of people, yes, but it's also talking about my individual, your individual, our individual firstness and lastness, because everything that Jesus says is always about the interior life. But I'll come to that in a moment. I want to explain the word pericope, okay? Because it's a new word for most of you. A pericope is an extract of a text. So, particularly with the Christian Bible. So, when I pick out a line or 5 lines or verses out of a text, it's called the pericope. And the reason why that's important is because there are groups of pericopes, like the story of the great pearl, or the story of the farmer who sows the seeds. These are pericopes, okay? So I'm gonna be using that word on occasion, but I thought I'd let you know. Also, here it is. Also, metaphor allows for a single pericope to have two meanings or maybe more. The first and the last are pericopes, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Thomas. They're about groups of two people and a single person. The sayings and the parables of Jesus are always about the interior life of a single person. And this is important to understand because it opens the way to all of his teachings. You understand this one thing, that it's always about the inner person. It can be about these other things, groups, etc. But it's always about the inner relationship. And when you understand this one thing, then the Gospels of Mark, Matthew, Luke, John, Thomas, Mary, and Philip, they become a different book, the collection of books. They become, their meaning shifts when you understand this one thing about the way Jesus taught. Besides teaching in metaphor, which we've covered, he always talks about the interior of a person, of an individual person. The parables are about you and me and our interior emotional, psychological, and spiritual lives. The parables and the sayings are about our interior lives, yours and mine alike. The first, our ego, becomes the last, when the last, our higher self, becomes the first. I'll repeat that. The first, our ego, becomes last, when the higher self becomes first. But right now, that's opposite. Right now, our higher self is last, and our egoic mind is first. When this role switches, when this happens, the two selves reunite into a oneness, into a singleness. When that happens, singleness comes. This is my experience in my life. And no, it's not, it's a constant thing. It's always present, but I live a human life. It doesn't make me any other than a human being. And it doesn't to anybody, any mystic of any time, anywhere. Look at the life of Jesus and the things he did, smashing up the temple, cursing a tree. He's just a human being. In the singleness of oneness, when the higher self takes dominance in this world and the egoic mind takes the back seat, then singleness is experienced. There is only one of us. There's only one of us. There's really not an egoic mind and a higher self. There's really only one of us, wrote Neil Donald Walsh in Conversations with God, and he is right. The two become one. Because when the higher self takes to the front of the line, the lesser self is seen for what it is, part of the one. This is always in the theme that the teacher Jesus taught. Now, why is it always a theme? Because he was always teaching from his mystical experiences. Jesus spoke like a near-death experiencer, which means I hear him talking from his extraordinary mystical experiences. Imagine him teaching in the first person. I like to do this sometimes. I like to take it out of the teaching role, and he's instead talking about it to his intimate Mary, maybe. And he's saying, "This is what happened to me." So here's the teaching in the first person. And maybe he's talking about himself in this. When my alpha becomes my omega, and my omega becomes my alpha, when my ego becomes my soul, and my soul becomes my ego, when my end becomes my beginning, and my beginning becomes my end, then I enter into oneness, into a singleness. Do this, he tells us. Do this, he says, and be like me. In my post NDE mystical life, I resisted this very thing, not wanting to lose myself, not wanting to be fully consumed, wishing to keep a part of me for me, only to discover, as I was foretold, and looking back over my shoulder at my earlier life mystical experiences that I didn't comprehend, but that I wouldn't be consumed. That when the first becomes the last and the last becomes the first, there's not a loss of self. There's a recognition of true self, of higher self. Don't worry. When you give yourself, when you surrender yourself, you're not finished, you're just beginning. Heaven is beautiful. When dying taught me that death was just the beginning, that's what I'm talking about. And that title, when we die to ourselves, we find life now, here and now, heaven present. If you allow yourself to be consumed, you'll find your true nature, your higher nature, and your oneness. And this is true for everyone. So please think about what I said this morning. The next time you read Matthew 21 to 16, the parable of the harvest workers, in which the generosity of the goodness itself gives to the last and the first the same wage for the day, the same goodness, the same treasure. The funny thing about this is, remember that both of those groups, the arrogant and the weak, the suffering and the powerful, they're both in the line of heaven. These may be at the front of the line, but these are still in line. Next week, Thomas, logia 5 and 6. There is nothing hidden that will be not seen through the lens of my time in hell and here on earth with eyes to see. Thanks for your support. Look in the description for the Zoom link to Mystic Tea Salon coming up at the top of the hour. I hold Mystic Tea Salon space so that we can tell our mystical experiences, so that you can tell your mystical experiences that you can't share anywhere else. We're a self-selecting international community of mystical experiencers and of many types. I speak mysticism with a Christian accent. Perhaps you don't. You speak with a different accent. Your gifts of any size keep me going, truly, especially recurring donations at PayPal or Patreon, Zelle, Venmo, or by check too. Thank you very much, everybody, for believing in the work that we are doing together, because your support gives this us as a gift out to the world. This light that you know is real because it lives inside you. If you want to consult, counsel, or converse with me, please book a time for a spiritual, mystical conversation or counseling at peterpanagore.Love. Let's chat. That was a little rugged there in the middle. Hi, everybody. What time is it? Good. All right. You agree with Mary? Hey, Charlie. Skipping back in time here. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Hey, Nancy in New England, Trisha in Las Vegas, Quiet Energy in Ireland, Wanda in New Hampshire, Mary, good morning, Brooke in California. Hi, Brooke. Sue in Pennsylvania, Charlie and Ireland. Good to see you, Charlie. PL, good morning, beautiful people. Lisa, good morning from Western Colorado. Beth from Oregon, Western Oregon. Brooke, heaven connection and a place in life. Yes. Yes, you know. Andrew, good morning from South Carolina. Healing fragments bring the truth. Oh, that's insight. And of course, naturally so. That's insightful, Brooke. We get healing fragments that tell us the truth. I mean, that's part of the interior journey. That's taken that whole Oxyrhynchus papyrus fragments to an interior metaphor, because that's the way it works. We all get fragments. None of us gets the whole picture. Whoa, hey, that was loud. Forgot to turn down the outside mics there. Good morning, Diana in North Carolina. Nancy in North Carolina. Michael reminds me of our Ouroboros. I don't know what that is. That word looks familiar, but I can't tell you what it is, Michael. Our Ouroboros. Rings a bell. A person. My interior is dark and scary backwoods. Oh, well, those are just the dark and scary backwoods part of it. When you go into the interior, you kind of bring a lamp with you. That's the lamp you get to carry. So it keeps the dark and scary at bay. If you want to talk about that, I'd be happy to explore that with you. The light really does carry from the very first breath that you enter inside yourself. You get to carry a lamp with you. It is the lamp. The prayer is the lamp. Kristen, thanks for explaining that word pericope. You're welcome. Mary, epiphany. Oh, good, Mary. Kristen, totally cool. Brooke, healing pericope. Word of the day. Dog face soldier. Hola from New Mexico. Hey, stay not burned down there. Heard about the fires out there. Praying for everybody and caught in all that terror down there. Mary, brilliant. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mary. Charlie, challenge of the week. Casually dropped the word pericope into general conversation. So I was reading the news today and I have a pericope for you. I don't know if it's going to work. That's kind of a highfalutin word. Dog face pony soldier. Yes. Brooke healing. Charlie, game on. A competition going on there. That's great. Good morning, Betty. Charlie, I want to hear how it goes. Mary, the truth. Thank you, Ursula, very much. Neighbor Ursula, thank you for the super chat this morning. Thank you, Peter. I never understood the first and the last. She'll be. Thank you, Peter. I never understood Last shall be first, and first shall be last. What you say makes sense. Thanks. The snake that swallows its tail. There's an old metaphor that is what we're talking about. The snake that swallows its tail. Thank you, Rose, for the super chat. Also, your support really makes a difference. Thanks. Um, Always you with practical applicability, so much to unpack and process. Notion falls apart, that understanding may come together. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm after here. I'm trying to smash the notion so that understanding can come together. It's Jesus kind of did that sort of stuff. Kind of nothing, he did that sort of stuff. That's what parables are all about. They're to smash understanding and stretch the mind and help it see in a new way. And tell me, okay, so was that too complicated? Did I throw too much stuff in? Should I have brought up pericope? You all seem to like that word, but there seemed to be a section in which I was reading that I didn't wasn't quite as clear as I wanted to be. So tell me, respond to me. I like feedback. It's very helpful to me. Um, and not just in what I'm trying to say, but how I'm trying to say it. So, because if the communicator doesn't communicate, then it's no good. The snake that eats itself, infinity. PL debt. Thanks for the old-fashioned Catholic sermon to explain our souls on a journey. Yeah, it sort of was like that, wasn't it? Oh, the old homily. Yeah. Healing, love you so much. Thank you, Brooke. Peace to you, Brooke. Always love and peace to you. TGS source, light, candle, peace, candle, peace, light, peace. Thanks, TGS. No, says Mary Rowan. Jesus says in Revelation, I am the first and last, the Alpha and the Omega. That's because there's only one reality. Thank you for bringing that in. Mermaid 15. I thought it was not clear. Oh, darn it. Thanks for telling me. Always love the dual interpretation, both. I'll do my best, Mar. Ask a question and maybe I can clarify. Yowza TGS. Not complicated at all, clear and helpful. Thanks, Charlie. Perfect communication, Peter. All right, but Mayor, you let me know what was confusing for you, Mayor made 15. But Charlie, thanks for saying so too. I realize that maybe it's clear for some and not for others. And if I'm trying to reach everybody, then I need to probably change my language a little bit. Not complicated. If you threw in new things, it keeps us growing, Tim. Oh, thanks. Trying. Little new things. Love is the only truth. That's the simplicity of it right there. Love is the only truth. Do you have an address for checks to be sent? I do, Jem. And it is, I suppose I can give it out here. What do you think? Can I give it out here? It's on my website, I suppose. 8 Spruce Shores Road, East Boothbay, Maine. 04544. I guess it's okay to give it out here. So those dings that are coming in over my sound system here, it's my family wishing me Christos Anestis. And I'm supposed to say Alathos Anestis. It's Orthodox Easter today, and my family, we celebrated both growing up. Love is the only truth. Peter, do you have an address? I did. I have to make this messages in two parts in regards to the part of your talk dealing with not wanting to give up that part of yourself, which in the course we refer to as ego, John. Yeah, that's I kind of was hoping to break it into two parts, but the part of ourselves is the world. I have come to this place while in between sleep and wake and have found it to be extremely frightful. What? I have to make this message in two parts. In regards to the part of your talk dealing with not wanting to give up that part of yourself, which in the course we refer to as ego, the part of ourselves and the world, I have come to this place while in between sleep and wake and found it to be extremely frightful. Aim your heart at the light in the daytime, and in that space between the two, find your presence of mind and call the light to you. Call the light to you. Call the light during the day so that when you need it at night, you can call it with a prayer that repeats in your mind. Find the prayer that repeats in your mind in your dream, in that state, because the prayer runs as a tape loop inside your head. That's why one of the reasons, one of the helpful things of the same prayer again and again. Trust the light with all your heart in that space. John, I hope your healing's going well. How do we put the higher self first every day? By eliminating the lower self. That's what meditation's all about. And then by putting other before self. That's the exterior version of the practice of selflessness, is kindness and compassion, as much as you're able to. No one is perfect. Everybody chooses selfishness, me too, time and again. But as much as you're able to, pick the other. Pick the other. Practice the prayer. And when you practice the prayer, it brings a peace to the day. So, when Jesus talks about the Sermon on the Mount, and people call those ethics, it's true, they are ethics, but they arise from the heart that is connected to the divine. All those things do. They come naturally. And so when you cultivate the interior life, the living of it in the daily life becomes more aimable, more powerful, more present. Direct to the website, peterpanagore.Love. Thanks, dog-faced pony soldier. My address is at peterpanagore.Love. Oh, thank you for Happy Easter. Was it clear? I guess Kate says no. Is that what you say, Kate? No, not clear. Ironic, but I wrote to you, Peter, suggesting that you open a PO. Oh, you did. You did say that to me. That was quite a while ago, and I haven't done it, and I suppose I should. Yep. Now everyone can stop by and say hi. No, everybody knows where I live around here. It's funny. People stop in front of my house all the time. Have forever, for years. Everybody has. I live in I live in a very part of my intention of living where I live is I'm very hard to get to. Maine it's a faraway place, and I live in a faraway place at the end of a faraway place. Um, it's not so easy to get to my place. There's only one road in and out, and it's long. Um, thank you. You're welcome. Light to you, John. Thank you very much, Susie, out there in Colorado. Thank you. Beautiful message. Thank you. Keep letting me know if my language is clear or not. It's important to me. And so, if among those of you who found it difficult to understand what I was trying to say, um, if you want to give me a little more detail about what that meant, can email me. My address is at peterpanagore.Love. Everything that you want to find out about me is there, including my mailing address. The concept is not new, but I follow you now to apply the new perspective to the stumbling blocks of my inner journey. Good. It's good that it's not a new concept. I'm glad to hear that. I'm not the only one out there teaching this. It's the ego that's frightened, says Susan. Yes, it's true, says to John. Orthodox Easter is the biggest celebration of the year for the Greeks. So it sure is. Happy Easter, Greek friends and other Orthodox friends. It is. It's the biggest celebration. It's big. The fear fades as God's light fills us every day. It was clear. Thanks, Kate. Oh, good. I was saying no to the address. Oh, too late for that. But I won't do that again. Kate F, thanks. Someone will order you a pizza now. Hey, well, people once show up. I was working outside one day at my outdoor desk, and I'm working away and working away. I got my head down, and suddenly there's a couple of feet, and I look, and there's a bag that lands on my desk, and the feet run away. And by the time I look up, she's waving over her shoulder. One of my neighbors brought a bunch of blueberry muffins. And if you do order pizza, make sure it's from the house of pizza, the Greek pizza in my town. Every New England town has a house of pizza. It's run by Greeks, and our Greek uh, people are, well, enough said. Christos Anestis. Yes, the tape loop of prayer service work, hence the website and the channel. It's what I can do as an NDE, all represented there. It confuses some when they go there. Um, yeah, that's right. You're right, TGS. I had to unpack what you said a little bit here. Yes, the tape loop of prayer, the service work, hence the website and the channel. Yes, that's what these are about. Those two things. It's what I can do as an ND ear. All are represented there. Yes, in heaven, I think you mean, or here in this channel and at the website. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but I think that all, I think I know that all NDErs are related to the divine, and they bring their portion, their fragment of that presence with them as they are present here. Um, it confuses some when they go there. Yeah, it does. It can be confusing. Hence the long integration, the long practice of reintegration. Very clear, though I don't come here for gospel clarity, but being gospel per se. Very clear, says Ellen C. I know. I think about you when I write, though, Ellen. Did you know that? I think about, okay, so Ellen's not here for the gospel clarity. Very clear, though I don't come here for gospel clarity. Not being a gospel person per se, but truth, clarity, and love come through, and that's what I'm here for. Thank you. Thank you. Because that's really what I'm after here. I'm trying to reframe the gospels so that those who have experience with them can experience the love and the truth, but I really am trying to channel the love and the truth. That's really what I'm after. That's what the message is. Why would I study pantomime? I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. I studied pantomime because of the silence of the communication, because there's no language in pantomime but expression and action, motion and physicality to carry the message. And I'm hoping that inside of the gospel expanding things that I'm doing, the homilies, the not homilies, the Catholic not homilies, the that the light itself is carried. And thank you, Ellen, because I really do think um, of you when I write, because of that very reason. Amen, Ellen. Thank you, Kristen. TGS at the website, and yes, heaven, my TGS source. What does TGS mean? What is TGS? I don't know what that means. They are all tribe represented. All tribe represented. All the near death experience in all the world. We are all here as beacons of light, integrating with our confusions and trying to reintegrate into the world, this confusing place, by being messengers of the divine light, all of us, all together, not just us, okay? Spiritually transformed people, mystical people as well, but the near-death experience are somehow we're special group because we didn't like work our way here. It just happened to us because of medical science. And so medical science is driving spirituality on a global scale in a deep and real way that it's never done before in the history of the world. This is global awakening that we're talking about. That's what we're always talking about here. That's inside of the text. Jesus was a herald of the global awakening. And now here it is, among us, within us, between us. Um, Out of nowhere, an article, video about a cane Karmarik, the child genius artist, intensely spiritual paintings. Oh, I think I know who you mean. Before my eyes this morning, what a gift. The visual audio light. Yes, I think I know who you mean. Um, I'd have to look her up for sure, but there's only one particular child artist I can think of that was a genius who kind of painted spirituality, didn't kind of paint spirituality. Yeah. Painted Jesus. Ellen, the girly Rowan, the girly show in 30 Rock. 30 Rock with the girly show. I have to look at that episode. I love 30 Rock. I'll have to look at that episode. Oh, the God Source, the Sons of God, TGS, the God Source, TGS. New one for me. I like it. TGS Source, the God Source Source, the Sons of God Source. Nice. Brook Healing from the Grove of the Tree of Life. Um, don't we all live at the end of a faraway place? We do. We all live at the end of a faraway place. That's the interior journey destination. Yeah, bring a poet to every meeting. Elaine, the Catholic experience I had as a child is finally being translated into something that makes sense. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you, Elaine. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to help with a reprogramming. I'm trying to help people reprogram because you have all this the thing for me, okay, the reason why I chose to work in the gospels and in Christianity at this stage in my life is because it's a shortcut. Straightest line down the mountain. Um, Shortcut because we all Christian people, thinking folk, Christian, what am I saying? People with Christian heritage and tradition in their upbringing share a common set of stories. And these stories, which have common dogma attached to them, can be reutilized and relanguaged for new meaning that Jesus originally intended. That's why I'm working in these. Besides the fact that I think he's the greatest teacher there ever was, okay? I'm a big fan of Lao Tzu and Chuang Tzu and Patanjali and Yogananda and Rumi, and I quote them all the time. I quote all these mystics all the time. I'm a big fan of all of them. Um, but Jesus, I have found those three teachings that I gave during the centering prayer practice part of our morning, where I try to create help us hold community together. That's what that's all about. Trying to keep the space of the divine presence among us and between us, bring our little lights out. Okay, so um the what was I saying? The divine presence in those, trying to bring that in the forefront. Oh, the three things: interior practice, your closet, make your eyes single, your body is filled with light, and inside us and among us and between us, panentheism. But the access is in the closet, inside us, making our eyes single. And when that happens, the more light comes to fill us, the more we see, the more we feel, the more we radiate, the more we hear. Let those with eyes and ears hear and see. This is the meaning of Jesus, the interior journey. Sean, The End of a Faraway Place sounds like a great title for a novel. The End of a Faraway Place. Oh, that is a really great title. The End of a Faraway Place. Could be a poem. The End of a Faraway Place. I'm with Ellen. I don't come for gospel, but for the mystic energy, whether NDE, where did it go? For or other type of mystical experience. Thanks, Jerry. Doc, Jerry. That's really what I'm after too. I'm after the transmission of it. I'm after the Shaktipat, the Soma. I'm after the divine presence inside myself. And I'm after the expression of that as a channel of light, one channel of light, one carrier of light among millions of carriers of light. That's what makes this time in the global awakening so powerful, is I am not just one guy. I am one of tens of millions. And when we bring our radiance together, either by merely bringing more into the world, the whole place gets brighter. The brighter it gets, the easier it is to see. Even those who cannot see can come to see when the light is turned up. Thanks for coming, Jerry. Same here. Charlie says, "Thank you, Charlie. I know that's true of you too." And so I'm going to add, Charlie, you've been in my mind too with this. Ellen mostly because she's my neighbor, but our conversations early on about the Catholic thing, um, and the troubles, and you're in my mind as well. And Jerry, I'm going to put you in my mind too. Victoria, me four, you four, Shine Star Designs, heart. Ellen, goosebumps of goodness. Yes, the more we connect to the universal Christ, not the person of Jesus, the teacher. This guy, he's a human being. He's a human being. He's a human being who lived a human life. And at some point in the future, we're going to get into the gospel. I would love to have time in my life to explore the infancy narratives, the infancy gospel. I don't know I'm ever going to have enough time left in my life to get to all these books, but I'd love to explore that book as well. An early version of the of a human child's life incarnated as a light being of Christ consciousness. True or false, I don't know. None of these books, I none of these books, okay, all the books that carry the light show forth the light. But are they historically true? That's a secondary question for me. If they show forth the light, that's what matters to me. That's why I can be friends with Muslims, why I can be friends with Southern Baptists, why I can be friends with Pentecostals, why I can be friends with Sikhs and Krishnas and Baha'is, um, because the light shines itself in books here, in books there, in people everywhere, because the light is the only real there is. And this is true no matter what book it's in. There was this Jonathan Livingston Seagull, Richard Bach, the near-death experiencer, the author, Illusions, Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah, one of his other books after he died. Um, I quote the truth where I see it. Pretty sure that's in that book. I quote the truth where I see it. That's what Jesus was doing, which is why he was in trouble with the authorities all the time. Why was he always in trouble with the authorities? Because he didn't really care about their doctrines or their dogmas. He was only trying to live in the divine mystical presence of the light itself through his own physical being, ripping up the place in the temple, cursing the tree as a child, killing a kid, according to the infancy narratives, but also bringing people back to life. Um, whether the miracles were real or not, I think are secondary. What matters, we can talk about those someday too. Okay, that's a lot to lay out there, because the miracles themselves became secondary to Jesus. He's like, I think I'll teach instead. And then he's like, that's not working. I guess what I'll do is I'll live the life. I'll show it through my action. So the thing about the interior world and the interior practice is that it is applicable in the exterior world. It's not just navel gazing. It has practical application in living life, where you are, with whom you live, in conflict and in beauty. No place exists where this is not there. And the more you create the space inside yourself for an opening for it, the more you knock on that door, the more the door swings open. The more the door swings open, the more the liquid light pours in till you get a sloshy belly of it. Hey, Brother Ed, peace to you, brother. Thinking about you all week. Hope you're doing okay. You've been in my thoughts and prayers this week. Tim, where am I? Appreciate. Thank you, Charlie. Ellen, people's fraud interpretations of the person of Jesus. It's the universal love piece to connect here and forever. Exactly. It's the universal love piece. Remember, Jesus on another planet, not Jesus. Christ did, on another planet, not Jesus, is what I meant to say. Thank you for relanguaging. This is so illuminating. Thank you, Nancy. Love this teaching today. Thanks, Nancy. Relanguaging. So really what I consider myself to be, before a writer, which is really my main job, writer and speaker, a thinker, but really what I consider myself to be is a linguist, linguistics, relanguaging. And one of the goals I hope to bring forth, one of the goals I hope to bring forth Okay, that sounds wicked highfalutin. What I mean to say is one of the things I want to explore is language because we don't share a common global language of mysticism. Well, mystics do. Real mystics, share the common global language of metaphor and symbol and myth. But the general world doesn't see it that way. And so that's one of the things Not Church is trying to do is remythologize the language so that we can begin to develop a 21st century language of mystical spirituality that has an international flavor to it that recognizes the truth of the light inside of the scriptures of all different kinds, including poetry and film and wherever the light is found in human hearts, in the loaf of bread my yaya used to make for Easter with the egg in it. With so I Wherever it is, wherever it's found. And I I get swept up again. Sometimes I get swept up and I just like, "Okay, it's bliss time." And then I kinda lose my thinking because I shut my thinking off. It gets shut off and I'm like, and it's gone. Woke up is not woke living. Yeah, waking up is not woke living. Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, "You talk a lot about waking up. Are you being woke?" And I'm like, "Nope. Waking up isn't about woke or not woke. That's a different thing. Waking up is experiencing the divine light itself, being reborn again in the presence of the flow, of the energy transmission, of the which comes this way and it comes this way. It's among us and within us, inside us, the Shaktipat or Shaktipad, depending on your pronunciation, Soma, the energy transference, the divine love presence. That's what I'm talking about. That's awakening to a grander understanding of our purposes for incarnating in this now, in this world now. Why are you here now? Why are you incarnated now? You have this light inside yourself. Why now? Hmm. Thank you for relanguaging. You're welcome. Or people's fraught interpretations. Thank you, Charlie, for appreciating me. Tim, I just realized today, because of your talk and the group comments, how much fuller this experience is because it is a group. Yes, Tim, that's what we're after here. Yeah. Yeah, Tim. Because there's wisdom in all of us. I'm just one person. I don't know everything. Together, the lights gives all of us fragments. That's what Brooke was saying. We all get fragments. Tim, that's right. That's what Mystic Tea Salon is, a collective of divine light seekers in kindness, humility, compassion. Those three things. Angel, can you recommend a good book besides the Bible that discusses what Jesus, oh, it skipped. Where'd you go? Angel. Um, that discusses what Jesus said and explained the meaning in a simple format. Yes, I can. As a matter of fact, I'm listening to it right now. Well, not at the very moment, but it's a decent book for this. Um, I'll hold it up to you. It's called Jesus, A New Vision by Whitney Stryber. It was recommended to me by one of our not church people over there in Colorado. And particularly his uh, understanding of the Gospels, the three or four Gospel pericopes that are the most important salient points that Jesus ever raised. The thing about that I'm finding in this book is that there seems to be a missing part, though. His mystical theology is very clear and well explained, but there seems to be the direct mystical experience isn't brought into the forefront. I'm still working through that, but that's the book. So Jesus, and I've got to skedaddle here, and now actually, a New Vision by Whitney Stryber. I've got 5 minutes. Everybody, I'd love to get to all of your questions today. Peter, you are pulling it together for this NDE and showing us the path. Thank you, Lynn. I'm trying. Thanks. I've got to go, Gertrude. The Bible holds so much more information that is understood. All right. Peace and love. I'll see you in a few minutes over at, um, where am I going? Mystic Tea Salon. Peace and love, everybody. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe and like and all that stuff. Christos anestis. Alathos nestis. Peace, everybody.